In my last video, I went over some non-prescription supplements that people have used for their anxiety, and in this video, I'll be going over 3 primary classes of prescription drugs for anxiety, along with the side effects of each. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say that even if you have anxiety problems, you should think very carefully about whether or not you want to start taking prescription medication for these problems. Take into account the pros and cons of starting to take a particular drug, and definitely think about seeking some kind of therapy, whether it's therapy with another person, a group of people, or if you're able to, self-therapy. Prescriptions don't completely solve the problem. They just allow you to get on with your day a little bit easier. The first class of medication is called benzodiazepines, also known as benzos. Now, I went over this very briefly in my non-prescription video, but I'll go over it again in more detail in this video. Benzos work by increasing the amount of the neurotransmitter GABA, which is responsible for turning off neural pathways in the brain. Now, the theory of why this works is because some anxiety is due to too many things going on in the brain at once. You have too many things that are firing in the brain and you just feel overwhelmed. So GABA can come in and turn off some of the excess noise in your brain and potentially help you settle down a little bit. Benzos are also fast-acting, which makes them excellent for people with frequent panic attacks. On the other hand, here are some of the drawbacks of benzos. First off, it's very common for drowsiness to be a side effect of a medication like this, simply due to the nature of what the medication does. It turns off signals in the brain. This can lead to your experience of everything being somewhat dampened. Another drawback is that benzos can be highly addictive. If you take too much within too short a span of time, you can start to build up a tolerance for them, which means that you'll have to take more to get the same effect. And when you stop taking them, you'll experience withdrawal symptoms. Because of this, benzos aren't recommended as a regularly taken long-term medication. The second class of medication is antidepressants. Now, there are lots of different types of antidepressants, but in this video, I'll just be going over one type, that is the generic selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, or SSRI. Some people with anxiety problems are thought to have a deficiency of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter responsible for emotional well-being. So, what antidepressants do is work to keep serotonin flowing in your body, essentially increase the amount of serotonin. SSRIs can work great for people with generalized anxiety disorder, OCD, or even social anxiety. But unfortunately, there's pretty much one major drawback that comes with all SSRIs. They can be very difficult to start. When you begin taking them, you're pretty much guaranteed to have side effects, which can range from increased nervous energy, to excessive sweating, to diarrhea, to sexual problems, to weight gain. The list of potential side effects can just go on forever. That's not to say that you'll get all of those side effects, but almost definitely you'll get at least a couple of those side effects. Along with that, even though they're absorbed in the body directly after taking them, it'll take 3 weeks to a month, typically, before you can even start feeling the therapeutic effects. But once you've taken them for a few weeks and you start to feel the effects, you can easily see how this can help people with anxiety. Once your body gets adjusted to it, you're not quite as consumed by the things that used to cause you so much anxiety. Along with the effects emerging a few weeks after starting, you'll also notice that the side effects will greatly diminish. Some of them will go away completely, some of them will go away somewhat, but not completely. But either way, your side effects will become much more manageable. Unfortunately, it's very easy once you start taking an SSRI to become psychologically dependent on it. getting off an SSRI can sometimes be harder than actually getting on it. Unlike benzos, which are often taken as needed, an SSRI is something that's taken over a long period of time, the same time every day. The third class of medication is beta blockers. Now, this class is actually primarily used for people who have high blood pressure, but oftentimes it'll be prescribed in smaller doses for people with anxiety problems, especially people with social anxiety. Beta blockers are fast-acting pills that work by restricting the release of epinephrine, aka adrenaline. Adrenaline is the thing that causes that gnawing fight or flight reflex that you always get when you're anxious. So if you can get rid of that, then you can get rid of a lot of the anxiety. Oftentimes, there's a kind of feedback loop between the physical symptoms of anxiety and the mental symptoms of anxiety. Because there are certain situations where you know you'll be anxious, you already expect to feel the physical symptoms of anxiety. So if you can be in that situation, but you don't feel the physical symptoms because the adrenaline is being blocked off, you tend to subconsciously tell yourself, I'm not feeling the adrenaline, I must not be nervous. That said, other than potentially breaking off that feedback loop between the physical and mental symptoms of anxiety, beta blockers do nothing to take away your anxious thoughts. They only get rid of the physical symptoms. I personally haven't experienced many side effects with beta blockers. The only real thing I could tell you is don't take it if you already have low blood pressure. And also, it's good not to take it if you're tired or groggy or drowsy already, because doing so could make you feel like you're going to faint. Also, you might want to refrain from eating spicy foods until the effect of the beta blocker wears off, because for whatever reason, sometimes when you eat spicy foods, that can cause really bad stomach pains. That happened to me a couple times. I don't know why it happens, it just does apparently. Beta blockers, when taken for anxiety, are typically taken as needed. So, that is all for this video. I hope to have given you some good foundational knowledge of the three main types of prescriptions for anxiety. If you liked the video, then without a doubt, share it with someone you know, and subscribe to keep up with my latest videos. In my next mental health video, I'll be going over the 4 primary perspectives through which anti-anxiety therapy is given. And if you're somewhat confused about what that all means, then you'll just have to wait until the next video to find out. If you have any suggestions for future videos, then be sure to leave a comment. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.